He has sold well over 50 million albums and still going strong. And for the next hour, we're visiting with rock legend Meat Loaf, beginning now on Private Sessions. You took the words right out of my mouth. Another great performance from the one and only Meat Loaf off of their brand new DVD, which we'll tell you all about at the end of the show here. It was taped live in Canada. It was spectacular. And you know,
it's my little joke.
What is that?
It's Meat Loaf, the Three Bats, live from London, Ontario.
The big pause, Ontario.
The music world's a very strange world today. I was thinking the other day on a bus to myself that I've actually lived through the rise and the fall of it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I mean, where people sold 35, 40 million records, 45 million, a lot of 30s, a lot of groups in the 30 millions for a single record. And then as it progressed, time we got to the 90s, people still selling a lot of records. Alanis Morissette, 12 million, Hootie and the Blowfish, 12 million. Worldwide, we did Bat 2, almost 18 million. And everybody said going into that market, don't expect to do the 35 that you did in the late 70s. Is not going to happen. The average consumer, the average person, still will judge a record on what it sold. And it's like, it's a misnomer. You
well, it's
can't
kind of
anymore.
We've all been programmed that way over the years.
Yeah, we've been programmed. It's like, Bat 3, what is it, sold, and we're touring it, and we've got more singles coming out. So we're looking between 4 and 5 million, which is
phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, what we've sold now, on it now, which is, I don't know the number, but I know we were in the top 15 for the year, and it's a very small number in comparison.
Sure. Now, you also said this album was quite personal to you.
Well,
like
there were moments of that the songwriting became a little more personal. This song called Alive, in which Desmond Child and James Michael read my book, which you have on your desk.
Yes.
Read my book.
Fantastic, by the way.
And wrote the lyrics from the song from the book.
Oh, well, you know what? It makes sense, though, because I listened
and
to
so
the words
that's the song that's like, okay, I have to live my life through this song, and I won't do it live.
Believe it or not, Meat Loaf has collided with history twice, and we'll hear about it when Private Sessions. Welcome back. We are spending this hour with Meat Loaf. So, Meat, why don't we go back to the beginning, shall we? Part of rock's greatest franchise.
I don't think we have that much time today to go back to the beginning.
I know. I wish we did. But
I mean, we'd have to get back, to the early Ice Age, 6 billion years ago.
We're not going that far back. No, but I think you didn't do too bad considering your mom told you couldn't carry a tune in a bucket.
I still don't think I can.
Oh, come on. Really?
No, I really don't consider myself to be a singer at all.
That's it. After all of these years and all of those albums?
No, I don't. I mean, Aretha Franklin is a singer. I mean, they're singers. They're real singers. Linda Ronstadt was an amazing singer.
Is it about vocal skills, though?
Steve Perry from Journey. Oh, I heard him last night and going, oh, man, listen to that guy sing.
I know.
Steven Tyler. I mean, he's Freddie Mercury. The real great, rock singers. And then you get off into the Patti Pages and listen to young Judy Garland sing in those movies.
Please.
And knowing that, they did that live with an orchestra standing in a room. There was no tuning. There was no, oh, let's edit it together. Let's none of that. You know, there was none of this.
There was no Pro Tools back then.
There was no Paris Hilton putting it together word by word. You know?
Right.
So you have to go back and look at those singers and think how great. I mean, that's a real singer. And then there's people like Sinatra and Jagger, and to me, I fit in that category with the Bette Midler, and that we know how to live a song.
You're a showman. You perform.
We know when we take a song, we know how to live it. Mm-hmm. We know how to give you the emotion of it. Sometimes singers don't give you the emotion of the song. Mm-hmm. That's my problem with some singers. Aretha didn't have that problem, but a lot of singers, they just sing in notes, and they're not giving you the emotion. They're not letting you in on the emotion. They're not allowing you to open up to feel it.
So you basically embody a character when you take the stage to perform.
Yeah, I really have visions. I was telling my production manager last night, we're doing a song in the show that I want to change when we get to Europe, and he goes, why? Because the band loves that song. I said, because I don't get any visions from it. I said, every other song, the song starts, and I have film running in my head. You just click, and it's different film all the time. Different people run through my head, and they're there, and I see, you know, streets and fire and trolleys and mountains and motorcycles and women, and I see all these things. I see, like, I sing A Hot Summer Night and the beach is burning. I'm on the beach, and all of a sudden there's a rock, and now we're behind the rock, and I visualize them. They're alive.
Where do you think you first got your acting skills?
I think it's just inherent.
Yeah, so you naturally had that. Now, you know, it's funny talking about that because I was so entranced by this book. I read it. I'm not a big reader, I have to be honest with you.
Well, you don't need to be a big reader.
I couldn't put it down.
You don't need to be a big reader. It's got big print.
Lots of pictures.
Lots of pictures, big print.
Yeah.
And I made sure, sure the print was big. You see, because
it is big.
It's big print. Yeah, I said, okay, you got to get big print and not so many words on a page. And
no.
I've had people, when we were doing the book signings, read the book standing in line waiting for me to sign it.
I'm not surprised. Everyone I talk to, I'm like, you have to get this. Was put out, what, back in '99?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if people don't know out there, it's called To Hell and
Oh,
Back.
yeah,
but
and there's some funny stories in there.
All right, I want you to tell me, first of all,
People
were you
don't
really at
believe,
Parkland Hospital the day JFK was
We
shot?
sure were.
Tell everyone the story, because that just blew me away. And this is
Well,
just one of many.
we were at Love Field. I was with two other guys, one by the name of Billy Slocum and one by the name of Jimmy McWhorter. And I had a car. We went, and Jimmy's father worked at the airport, and there were so many people at Love Field. Nobody knew exactly where the car was going to come out of the airport, but Jimmy's father had made a guess where the car was going to come out at the airport. And so we stationed ourselves at this particular gate, and lo and behold, the car came through. Mm. And only Bill, the car stopped, we waved, the car stopped, and Billy actually went up and shook his hand. I was too petrified to move. Wow. But Billy, who was very courageous, actually went up and shook his hand. I was such a shy kid. Aww. I was so shy. I didn't hardly say anything, and I was just like, oh, I can't do that. No, I can't go over there. No. What do I say? Or what do you say to President Kennedy? Hi?
Hi.
Yeah,
that's
what I said to Elvis. Hi. And then when I was sitting, to tell you how I am, I was sitting next to John Lennon, who was one of my idols, at a coffee shop, 919 3rd Avenue. And I was early for a meeting, and I went down and said, I'll go back in a second, but this is it, just give you who I am. Yeah. And I ordered a cup of coffee, and I wanted some Sweet and Low, and there was none in front of me. And I didn't look, actually, who was sitting next to me. And I asked, could you pass me Sweet and Low? and I heard this voice, and it was Lennon. It was John Lennon sitting from, there was a stool, empty stool, Lennon. And
did you talk to him?
no.
Oh.
The only thing I said to him was, I got up and I went, "Thanks for giving me sweet and low," and walked out.
Then you're saying to yourself, all right, back to the JFK story,
anyway,
because this is like unbelievable to me. That
so
you guys were going to go catch up the motorcade later.
Yeah,
and
and we
see
went
him
to, we decided we'd go to lunch at Mickey Mantle's bowling alley. And when we got to Mickey Mantle's bowling alley, the entrance to Mickey Mantle's bowling alley had changed. And you used to enter from the top and go down into the basement, but they had closed it off and kind of sublet it and made offices space up. We didn't know that.
Right.
And there was some switchboard operator. And as we were walking past her, going back out the door, she said, "The president's been shot." And we looked, she said, "Yeah, right." And I think it was Jimmy that got on her radio or something and heard it. Mm-hmm. And so we go running through this parking lot, screaming, "The president's been shot." And people are yelling at us and saying, "Stop this, you kids, this hoax, this, you should be ashamed of yourself," and,
wow,
really giving us a hard time. So what we used to do after, funny thing to do, but after you drop off your dates and you didn't want to go home, and boys always had a later curfew, is that sometimes we used to drive down to Parkland Hospital and watch the emergency cases come in.
That's what you do on a fun Dallas night.
Well, there were a lot of shootings. There was a lot of
Wow.
people shot and stabbed, and it was.
Sounds like fun.
Oh yeah,
for young boys.
Yeah, you go to the, you go to Jack in the Box, you go to Parkland Hospital emergency room. So
wow.
And so as we were driving down the highway towards Parkland, there was a guy out in the middle of on Harry Hines Boulevard waving his arms back and forth, and he was jumping from side to side, and he forced the car to slow down, and he pushed a badge up against the window and said, "Scoot over, I'm taking the car." And he drove. I'm sitting in the middle now, and I could have.
Did he flash you a badge? Or
yeah,
something?
I could have sworn he said Secret Service.
Wow.
That was what I heard. But years later, the story was there was no Secret Service out that far. So I don't really know what that was, whether he said sheriff, Secret Service, whatever. Mm-hmm. But we drove into the parking lot just ahead of the cars, just
of the
ahead.
president, Jackie.
Yeah, just ahead of them.
So you saw them come in, get out of the car?
We couldn't see them. We saw them come in. We couldn't see them take them out of the car. We saw Jackie stand up.
Wow.
But we couldn't see them. We saw Conley, a little piece of Conley. But the guy said, "Do not move." Mm-hmm. And literally, we didn't move. I mean, I didn't even move back into the driver's.
You just sat in the middle.
I sat in the middle. And we sat there, I don't know, 2 hours in the car, just
what was
sitting
it?
there.
Were there people? Were there cops everywhere?
Yeah, well, eventually there just became so many people, we decided, well, what's the point in sitting in this car?
Yeah.
But you couldn't leave. We had football practice, and we were going to be late for football practice, so we're all sitting there going, we're going to be in big trouble. And nobody's going to believe us. And so the guy came back right after
Secret Service guy that you're not sure if he was sheriff or...
Right, and we were there when they came out and announced that he was dead. We were there standing in all those people, in that line of people you see in the grass. Mm-hmm. And I was standing next to a senator from Illinois, and we were actually having a conversation with him. I didn't know he was a senator from Illinois. And so then we went back to the car. We just wanted to go. We just want to get out of here. Mm. Guy came back and said, "Let me give you $100 for your trouble." And we went, no, you can't do that. Yeah, no. So he said, "Well, let me give you $5 for gas." And so we said, okay. So it was a $5 bill, and we ripped it up into threes.
Are you on some of the footage that gets aired on these shows? When they
Ever
bring up
so
conspiracies and all
often,
that sort of thing?
not very often, but ever so often.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Because they were going
Incredible
that day. It was like, you know, really big coverage, and well, here's the senator from blah blah, blah, senator from blah, 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 and we're standing there and talking to him. I don't remember which one of us talking to him, but
Wow.
there's two on one side and one on the other, and we're in the middle of them.
Now that is just one of the amazing stories in this book.
My life is a drama.
It sure is. And you know something? You want to come back because we have much more with Meat Loaf when Private Session. In the first Bat album, when you were trying to get that thing sold and out there at the record companies, it was pretty much the most mocked and rejected album amongst executives in the record industry all over the nationwide, and it goes on to sell almost 30 million copies.
Yeah, there's a few stories like that. You know, they were batted to hell. I think we were rejected more than most. There was somebody made a quote that record companies invented record companies just to reject us. They just made up a company name. Okay, we're going to make up this company and bring them in just to reject them.
Because they were all like Napoleons.
Yeah, and they were, but it's like you take an album like Born to Run. Springsteen was getting ready to be dropped by CBS before Born to Run. So it's just like...
They'll be kicking themselves forever over there. I mean,
yeah, they've kicked themselves plenty over that.
How did it change your life?
It almost destroyed my life because I was never built to be... like you take somebody like Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons was built to be a rock star. Mm-hmm. I mean, he loves it. He loves it. Anybody that would let somebody come into their house, Ozzy was built, and Sharon built to be rock stars. Steven Tyler built for it. I mean, Freddie. There's people out there that Madonna. They thrive on it. They thrive on that. And I don't. I thrive on the work. I don't thrive on the adulation.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't thrive on that. It's nice for somebody to say to you, "Oh, I enjoyed your performance in the movie," or walk by you and say that's a nice thing for people to do, for you, if they've seen you on TV. Oh, that was a really good interview you did with so-and-so, and you go, thank you, and it's like, well, that makes you feel good.
Right.
But to play the rest of the game, like, the
red carpets.
They go, it's all about like the paparazzi game. Well, if you don't want to be at the paparazzi, don't go to the places where the paparazzi are hanging out.
Exactly.
In L.A., I could be in the paparazzi every night if I wanted to go to those places because they hang out in the same places. I just, it's like I will avoid the hotel where all the bands stay, and we'll go over here to the hotel where the accountants stay.
Right.
And I will avoid all of the cliches.
Other thing that really jumped out at me was, and I'm wondering if you ever pick up hitchhikers anymore after this scenario, but one day
Well, I'm not sure. I know you're going to talk to me about Charles Manson, and I don't know for sure there's Charles Manson. All I know, it was a guy that looked like Charles Manson, and we went to the Beach Boys' house.
And what happened when you got to the house?
Well, he told me you want to meet a Beach Boy. So he was hitchhiking down Sunset.
Oh, okay.
And, well, he was basically looking for a ride all the way up the hill to the house.
Right.
And I wasn't going up the hill to the house. I was going down Sunset. So, his come on was, you want to meet a Beach Boy? Well, yeah, okay, fine. I'll give you a ride up to the house to meet the Beach Boy. Okay, I'll meet a Beach. I'm not really scared of the Beach Boys. If it was Elvis or Jason Robarbs or John Lennon, not a prayer.
Yeah.
But Beach Boys, yeah, sure. I don't care.
So you let him in, you drove up.
We drove up.
And there was no Beach Boys there. But it was his house.
But it was his house. But it was his house. And this guy went in playing guitar and started telling me I used to be a cat in another life. And I just looked at him and said, this is too weird. And I was gone. And so when I saw him on TV, it took me 2 or 3 times. And then when they at first I looked at him, but he could have looked like a ton of people back then. You know,
well, everyone had the long hair.
But then all of a sudden it came out about the Beach Boys house and which one it was and which, and he was living there and Terry Melcher, you know, and all this thing. And I went, oh my word. And the guy was really weird too. I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, he was
over the top weird.
Over the top weird.
Like cult leader kind of.
Yeah, you know, start telling me I used to be a cat in another life and telling me about.
You weren't going to make any money ever or something?
Yeah, that's right. And talking about my mother dying. My mother had just been dead for a little bit and talking about. And, I mean, he didn't know that. He said, your mother died like, you know, just a very short while ago, like when the last two. I mean, he started all this stuff. Well, that when he started on the mother, that really freaked me out. So I'm going, I'm out of here, and you know, I won't say what I basically was thinking to him.
Right.
I'll save that language for later.
All right, don't move a muscle, because when we come back, we've got a surprise for Meat Loaf, and you don't want to miss it. All right, we are back with Meat Loaf. We've been having such a wonderful time this hour. We got a little surprise for you here at the end of the show. We have some of your fans and some of your colleagues who have basically turned the cameras on themselves because they had some questions that they wanted to know
I hope it's none of the ones I had the fights with this morning.
Oh, I hope not, too. I hope he checked. All right, first up, here is obviously producer and musician genius Todd Rundgren.
Hey, Meat. How's it hanging? You know, when I first saw you, I knew that you had some previous musical history. You'd done R&B with Stoney and Meat Loaf, and you'd even sung some heavy metal for Ted Nugent, as I understand. And I was always wondering, if you had never met Steinman and never made Bat Out of Hell, what kind of music you think you'd be making nowadays?
Man, that's a good question.
That is a good question. First of all, I think if I hadn't met Steinman, I don't think I would have gone into music.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. I think what would have happened was the acting would have happened. I think I would have sort of been in that realm of the Dennis Quaid's or the
I know what you mean. You'd still have music in your life, but it wouldn't necessarily. It would be more acting.
Kevin Bacon.
All right, Meat, it's time for the final question. It comes from the singer who was there when it all started, when the bat first came out of hell.
Hey, Meat. How are you? Hey, have you seen a blurb in the New York Post? It was in recently. It was about a book about Warner Brothers Records. This was in the gossip columns. And there was a section in the book about the ones who got away. Apparently, Mo Austin came to see us audition in one of those rehearsal rooms. When I think about it, what guts we had, how amazing we were, singing all that material full out in those little NOLA studio rooms. So he comes, he sees the audition, and apparently he goes back to Lenny Waronker at Warner Brothers and says, "Do not sign these people." He said he was repulsed by the sight of you and I vigorously making out during Paradise. I mean, repulsed? I mean, look at us, look at you, look at me. We are fabulous since 30 years later.
Isn't she adorable?
Well, I mean, maybe part of it was, at the time, we were really dating.
Oh, okay. Well, that would make it seem really real.
And all the Warner Brothers staff was in this room. And Lenny Waronker, who was running head of A&R, became so offended that this action was taking place in this office that's the reason he turned it down. And you know, it's like, you know, the old thing about rock and roll, you know, free beer, free sex, and that's what you're doing it for. And so to get the girls. So that's it. And so I said to Jim about Paradise, look, Ellen can really sing. Let's do a song. And I explained to him about this girl that I went out with in Texas. I went out with her for like 4 months, and every time, there it is, you know, first base, second base, third base, there it is, stop right there. And every time was stop right there. And so I told Jim about the car, and it was a convertible, and it had this dashboard, and and so Jimmy just kind of took that little storyline from the beginning and then wrote about, you know, stop right there, and he did it, and then now they're praying for the end of time. So,
I just want
but
to
it
burst
wasn't,
into that
see,
song with you right now.
It wasn't Mo Austin. She's just a little confused. It wasn't Mo Austin. It was actually when we went out to, when we were out doing it in L.A. in the Warner Brothers office, in Lenny Waronker's office. That's when he became offended.
Meatloaf, I wish we had more time to talk to you. Thank you so much
Well,
for
give me
coming in
one
and doing
true
the show.
or false. One
True or false?
One true. One true or false. Just one.
Do you collect teddy bears?
Yes, give me another one real quick.
You like interior design?
Yeah, give me another one real quick.
First, it wasn't meatloaf, it was pot roast?
On that one, I don't want any more.
No more. By the way, Meat's performances that we saw today come from a brand new concert DVD called The Three Bats Live in London, Ontario. Meat's joke there. Now available in stores and online. Thanks for making it available to us, and thanks for being so great.
Hey, I'm Richie Sambora.
And I'm John Bon Jovi. Join us next week on Private Sessions right here with Lynn Hoffman on A&E.
I'm Lynn Hoffman, and I'll see you next Sunday on Private Sessions.